It all began one rainy Wednesday, when the weight of suspicion finally proved true. I had been feeling the cold distance between my wife and me for months, but you know how it goes, doubt lingers, but you push it down. I never thought it would happen. I trusted her, too much, probably. She was always so kind, loving, and loyal, or at least that's what I believed. One evening, as I sat at my desk working late, I received an email notification. It was a message from a colleague, Greg, who worked at my company. He had attached a picture of my wife, Jennifer, laughing intimately with a man, my man, the one I thought of as a friend. My heart raced. The man in the picture wasn't a stranger, it was Mike. My coworker. The one I'd shared countless drinks with, the one I thought was just a bro. Turns out, he'd been sharing more than just work stories with Jennifer. At first, I couldn't breathe. My mind raced, but my hands stayed steady. I clicked on the image. They were at a bar, and there was no mistaking the look in their eyes. The chemistry was undeniable. This was happening. I was being cheated on, right under my nose, by my own wife with a man I trusted. But I wasn't angry yet. Just calm. I could handle this. So, I did what any rational man would do, I played it cool. I didn't confront her right away. No, I would wait. I had my plan. She wouldn't know what hit her. The chessboard had been set, and I was about to make my move. The next few days were interesting. I didn't say anything to her. I didn't confront her. But I started to notice the little things, the extra late nights, the overly detailed work excuses, the little lies I had overlooked before. It was like she was desperately trying to cover up something, but the cracks were starting to show. And that's when the real fun began. It was a peculiar thing, waiting. You'd think that after such a discovery, my mind would be spinning, consumed by anger. But no, I wasn't angry, yet. I had something bigger in mind. What's the point of getting worked up in the moment when you could pull the strings and watch everything unravel? For a few days, I kept the facade of normality. Jennifer didn't suspect a thing. She came home with her usual cheery, "How was your day?" and I would respond with a smile, but behind that smile, I was calculating my next move. I had already decided, I wasn't going to confront her immediately. I wanted to watch. I wanted to see how deep her deception ran. I started paying extra attention to her behavior. One thing I quickly noticed was her phone habits. She had always been a little protective of her phone, but now, it was different. She'd take it with her everywhere. To the bathroom, to the kitchen, even to the bedroom. She used to leave it lying around, but now? It was like she was guarding it with her life. I tested the waters, of course. One evening, I casually mentioned how I had set up a new password for the Wi-Fi router, and she immediately froze. "Oh, I didn't know," she said, eyes darting away. "I guess I missed that. Thanks for letting me know." The next day, I noticed she was avoiding the Wi-Fi entirely, relying on data like she didn't want me seeing her online activity. It was subtle, but it spoke volumes. But still, I did nothing. I didn't raise an eyebrow, didn't ask any probing questions. Instead, I kept everything casual, almost like nothing had changed. I watched her run through her usual routines. She'd come home late from work, always with an excuse about meetings or a project deadline. Her work excuses grew more elaborate, more frequent. It was clear she was meeting him, Mike. The picture from the bar wasn't a one-time thing. This had been going on for months, and I wasn't just going to let her walk away from it like it was nothing. I wasn't in any rush. I had learned long ago that patience is a powerful weapon. She thought she was getting away with it, and that was exactly how I wanted her to feel. And then came the phone call. The one that sent everything spiraling. I should have expected it, but I didn't. The day it happened, I was sitting in the living room, quietly reading through some paperwork for work when my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number, probably a telemarketer or some scam, I thought. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. "Hello?" I said casually, knowing that if it were important, they'd leave a message. "Hey, is this James?" The voice on the other end was male, unfamiliar. "Yes, this is he." "Who's calling?" "This is Greg, from work," the voice said. "You, might want to know something. I know this sounds crazy, but I think you should be aware. I don't know how to say this, but I thought I'd let you know that Mike, well, he's been spending a lot of time with Jennifer. And I mean a lot." I froze, my heart skipping a beat. I felt the chill of realization creep up my spine. "Greg, I don't know what you mean," I replied carefully, trying to sound calm. "What exactly are you talking about?" "Look, I don't want to get involved in this mess, but I've seen them together, more than once. There's something going on. I just thought you should know. You're a good guy, James, and I didn't want you to be blindsided." The line went silent for a second. I could hear him breathing, like he was waiting for me to say something, but I didn't. I had no words. What more was there to say? I wasn't angry, not yet. But I was closer. "Thanks for letting me know, Greg," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "I appreciate it." "Yeah. No problem. Just, keep an eye out. That's all I'm saying." He hung up before I could reply. I sat there for a while, staring at the phone in my hand. I knew it. I knew she was lying to me. But this, hearing it from another colleague, another person who saw them together, hit me harder than I expected. But I couldn't act on it yet. Not just yet. The first thing I did after that phone call was, of course, start to plan my next move. The stakes were higher now. It wasn't just suspicion, it was confirmed. But I wasn't going to rush into anything. I wanted to make sure she knew exactly how it felt to lose everything, just like she had been so careless with me. Over the next few days, I continued my charade. I acted like everything was fine. But inside, the gears were turning. I'd keep a record of every interaction she had. I'd track her every move. And then, I got my hands on something more concrete. A text. A few days passed after the phone call from Greg, and everything seemed quiet on the surface. Jennifer was still coming home late, still making up excuses, but now, I had more to go on. The discovery of her affair wasn't enough for me to act recklessly. No, I needed her to feel the weight of her betrayal. And that's when I found it, a text message. It was a Sunday morning when I decided to sneak a peek at her phone. I had gotten into the habit of subtly tracking her movements, nothing overt, just enough to keep an eye on things. She was in the shower, and I had my window of opportunity. I knew the password to her phone, she'd never changed it after we got married. I opened it, heart racing, not sure what I'd find. And then, there it was. A message from Mike, the man she had been seeing behind my back. The text was simple, but it hit me like a freight train. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I'm counting the minutes. I miss you." My stomach turned. It wasn't the message that shook me. No, it was the fact that she had no idea I'd found it. She was still trying to hide it, still lying to my face, acting like everything was fine. The message sent a cold rush of adrenaline through me. But I still didn't act. I didn't confront her. I knew that would be too easy. Instead, I decided to let her stew in her lies for just a little longer. I'd keep collecting evidence, keep watching. Every small piece of the puzzle was a step closer to the perfect moment to strike. I deleted the text, making sure nothing was left behind. Jennifer would never know I had seen it. But I knew. And that was enough. That day, I continued acting like everything was normal. I cooked breakfast, watched the game, and even smiled at her, making her feel like she was getting away with it. But deep down, I was already planning the final act. It was an ordinary Wednesday when everything shifted. I had been biding my time, collecting little bits of information, and waiting for the perfect moment to confront Jennifer. I wasn't going to be reckless with this. It wasn't just about revenge. No, this was about showing her how deeply she had wronged me, and making sure she never forgets it. I had decided to take a different approach for the next phase of my plan. Instead of catching her in the act, I'd pull her into a controlled environment, somewhere she couldn't escape or dodge the truth. It was time to turn the tables, and that meant an in-person confrontation. I arranged to meet Mike, the man she'd been seeing. There was no chance of him backing out. After all, he didn't know who I was, but I knew who he was. I knew exactly where he lived, where he worked, everything about him. He wasn't as careful as he thought he was. The plan was simple: meet him at a local bar. Get him talking. Make him realize exactly what he was messing with. I wasn't interested in violence or yelling, just facts. Mike was going to get a reality check, and Jennifer would be the one to pay for his arrogance. I texted Mike, pretending to be a friend of Jennifer's, and arranged the meeting. He responded quickly, probably thinking it was some casual get-together. Little did he know, he was walking straight into a trap. That evening, I arrived first, sitting at a table in the corner, nursing a beer and scanning the crowd. I watched as Mike walked in, alone, and looked around. His eyes flicked to me, and I could see the slight recognition in his face. He didn't know me, but he knew enough to know he was in trouble. I motioned for him to join me, and he sat down warily. We exchanged pleasantries, nothing too suspicious. He probably thought I was just a random guy. But then, the conversation shifted. "You know, Jennifer talks about you all the time," I began, keeping my tone casual. "Funny, though. She never mentions anything about your relationship with her. Funny how secrets have a way of staying hidden, isn't it?" Mike blinked, his confidence faltering slightly. He shifted in his seat. "What are you talking about?" he asked, but I could see the unease creeping into his voice. "Oh, come on, Mike. Don't play dumb. I know everything. I've seen the texts. I know she's been sneaking around with you for months." I leaned in slightly, watching his face drain of color. "You think she's going to leave me for you? You think you're the one she really wants?" I let the silence hang between us, knowing the weight of those words would sink in. Mike didn't answer at first. He just sat there, shifting in his seat, his mouth opening and closing as though he were trying to find words to salvage the situation. I could tell he hadn't expected any of this. "That's the thing," I continued, my voice calm but sharp, "you don't know what you're messing with. You thought you could have an affair with my wife behind my back and get away with it. Well, you're wrong. It's over, Mike. She's not going anywhere with you." He opened his mouth to speak, but I raised my hand to stop him. "Let me finish. I don't need to fight you. I don't need to make a scene. I just wanted you to know that you've been caught. And Jennifer? She'll know exactly who did this. When I'm done with her, she'll understand what it feels like to lose everything." I stood up, leaving Mike there, speechless. I knew he would panic, and that was exactly what I wanted. I didn't care if he told Jennifer, I was already 2 steps ahead. I walked out of the bar without looking back. Jennifer's betrayal had been set in motion, but the real twist was just around the corner. It was time to see how she'd handle the truth. It had been a couple of days since my meeting with Mike, and Jennifer was none the wiser. Her behavior was typical, still trying to act normal, still coming home with those tired excuses about work. But I knew she was waiting for the other shoe to drop. She had no idea I had already made my move. The twist? It was time for the moment of truth. She thought she could continue her affair without consequence, but little did she know, the walls had already closed in around her. I waited until we were both home one evening, the kids already in bed. The house was quiet, the calm before the storm. Jennifer was sitting on the couch, flipping through a magazine. I walked into the living room, taking a seat across from her, my eyes never leaving hers. "Jen, we need to talk," I said calmly, my voice steady, though inside, I was burning with quiet intensity. Her expression shifted instantly. She knew something was off. "About what?" she asked, trying to sound casual, but I could hear the faintest edge of worry in her voice. I didn't answer her right away. Instead, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. "I've been doing some thinking," I continued, my eyes locked on hers. "And, well, I've come to realize something about trust. About honesty. You see, I never wanted to be the kind of person who snoops, but in your case, I had to make an exception." I unlocked my phone, pulled up the text messages between her and Mike, and slid it across the coffee table toward her. "Here. This is what I found," I said, watching her face carefully. Her breath hitched when she saw the messages, the same ones I had deleted before. Her fingers trembled slightly as she scrolled through them, eyes wide as she read the words she had thought were hidden. "Are you serious?" she whispered, her voice shaking with disbelief. "You've been spying on me?" "I'm not spying," I replied evenly, "I'm protecting myself." "From you." Her eyes darted between the screen and me, her mouth opening and closing, struggling to find an excuse. "James, this isn't what it looks like. It's not what you think." "Really?" I said, cutting her off. "What exactly do you think I think? That you were just working late? That you've been meeting Mike as a friend? Don't insult me, Jennifer. I've seen the way you've been sneaking around. The lies. The deceit. It's been happening right under my nose, and you thought I wouldn't find out." She opened her mouth again, but no words came out. She looked like a deer caught in the headlights, trapped in her own web of lies. "I was always there for you, Jennifer. I loved you. I trusted you. And you threw it all away for him?" My voice grew quieter, but the sting of betrayal cut deep. "I think you owe me an explanation." She finally dropped her gaze, unable to meet my eyes. I could see the shame in her posture. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I don't know why I did it. It was a mistake. A stupid mistake. I never meant to hurt you. I never wanted to lose you." "Then why did you?" I asked, my voice laced with quiet anger. "Why didn't you come to me first? Why did you lie? Why did you cheat?" She fell silent, her lips trembling, but still, she didn't have an answer. She couldn't. "I'm done with the lies, Jennifer," I said, standing up. I didn't yell. I didn't slam doors. I didn't need to. This wasn't about revenge for me anymore, it was about moving on, reclaiming my life. I've already made my decision. I'm not going to be a fool anymore. "James, please," she begged, her voice cracking. "I love you. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Don't leave me." I felt a brief pang of regret for the woman I had once loved, but that was it. It was gone. It was gone. The trust, the respect, the love, it had all been shattered. "I think you're the one who needs to make a decision now," I said coldly. "But I've made mine." I turned and walked out of the room, leaving her there, broken and speechless. The following days were a blur. Jennifer tried to pull me back, tried to explain herself, but her words were hollow. She knew it, I knew it, and I didn't need her empty apologies. The damage had been done, and I wasn't going to stick around for more excuses. She went into overdrive, trying everything she could to fix things. She even apologized to my parents, hoping they could talk me out of the divorce. She begged me to attend counseling, pleaded for me to listen to her side, to understand that it was just a mistake. But there was no way to undo what had been done. The trust had been broken, and once that happens, there's no coming back. One day, she came home from work early, looking like she hadn't slept in days. She stood in the doorway of our bedroom, her face pale, eyes red from crying. "James," she said softly, "I've made a huge mistake. I know I can't take back what I did, but I'm asking for one last chance." I stood up slowly, turning to face her. I could see the desperation in her eyes, but there was no spark left in me. She had taken everything from me, everything that mattered. And now she was standing there, broken and begging for mercy. The irony wasn't lost on me. She wanted a second chance, but I had already given her more than enough chances to fix things. She hadn't taken them, and now she had nothing left to offer. I took a deep breath, then said the words that had been on the tip of my tongue for days. "I'm done, Jennifer. I've been done for a long time now. This, whatever this is over. I can't live like this anymore. I can't pretend that everything's fine when you've been lying to me for months." Her face crumpled. She stepped forward, her hands trembling, but I held up a hand to stop her. "Don't touch me," I said firmly, my voice cold. "You've lost that right." I saw the realization hit her. The devastation. She didn't know how to fix it. She had pushed me too far, and now it was too late. She stood there in silence for a moment, her chest heaving with emotion, but I didn't flinch. I had made peace with the decision. There was nothing left for me in this marriage. Not the love I thought I had, not the trust one had given her, and certainly not the respect. Jennifer turned and walked out of the room, but I could hear her soft sobs echoing down the hall. I didn't go after her. I didn't need to. The hurt was hers now, not mine. I had already done the hardest part by letting go. But as the days passed, something unexpected happened. I started to feel lighter. The weight I had been carrying for months, waiting for the right moment to act, was gone. The anger faded, and in its place, a sense of relief filled the space where she used to be. I wasn't stuck anymore. I wasn't in a toxic marriage. I was free. And that was something I hadn't felt in a long time. But the real twist wasn't in Jennifer's regret, nor was it in the divorce that was now inevitable. No, it was something else entirely. Something she never saw coming. I had thought it was over. Jennifer would move out, we'd finalize the divorce, and life would go on. But as anyone who's ever experienced true betrayal knows, the drama never really ends, not until the last stitch is sewn. It was about to get much worse for Jennifer, and not in the way she expected. A few days after our confrontation, as I was preparing for the inevitable, filing for divorce, moving out, something happened that would forever change the trajectory of this whole situation. It wasn't Jennifer that hit me with the final blow, it was her mother. I hadn't expected Gloria, her mother, to be involved in any of this. Gloria had always been the kind of person who thought she could manipulate her daughter's life from the shadows, constantly undermining me, subtly controlling Jennifer. I'd never liked her, but after what Jennifer did, I couldn't have cared less about what Gloria thought. But one afternoon, while I was sitting in the living room with my paperwork, my phone rang. The number on the screen wasn't one I recognized, but the voice on the other end immediately gave me a sense of dread. "James," Gloria said, her voice dripping with condescension. "I think you've made a big mistake." I froze, my grip tightening on the phone. "What do you want, Gloria?" I asked, already knowing where this was going. She sighed theatrically. "I think you're making a rash decision. You should reconsider. Jennifer is going through a tough time. She's devastated by what happened. I know this is difficult for you too, but don't let your pride destroy what you've built." I could practically hear her smirking through the phone, the way she always thought she was in control. "You really want to throw away your entire marriage over a little mistake? She loves you, James. This affair doesn't have to define you both." Her words cut through me like a knife. But I wasn't buying it, not for a second. It's not just about the affair, Gloria, I said, my voice measured. It's about the years of manipulation. The lies. The constant undermining. You think I'm going to pretend none of that matters because Jennifer is sorry? She betrayed me, and you've been enabling it. Gloria's voice became colder. You really want to destroy everything? You think your life will be better without Jennifer? You think you're the victim here, but maybe you should think about what you're leaving behind. Maybe Jennifer's affair is your fault too. Maybe you should have been more present. Ever thought of that? I could feel the blood rushing to my head. Is that what this is about? I asked, incredulous. You think I drove Jennifer to cheat on me? After everything I've done? You think I haven't given her everything? There was a long pause. For a moment, I thought maybe Gloria had reconsidered, maybe, for once, she would be the one to step back and see the truth. But no, that wasn't Gloria. Well, she said after a moment, voice quieter but still menacing, if you think you've won, think again. You don't know what's coming for you. You might have won a battle, but not the war. I hung up the phone, my chest tight with anger. Gloria had crossed the line, and I wasn't about to let her get away with it. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I wasn't just leaving Jennifer. I wasn't walking away from this whole mess without taking something of my own. And that's when I realized, if they wanted a war, I was more than ready to finish it. The call with Gloria had left me more fired up than I expected. Her audacity to blame me for Jennifer's infidelity, to suggest that I was somehow at fault, was the final straw. It wasn't just the affair, it was the way her family had treated me for years. They never respected me. They thought they could manipulate me, push me around, and I had let them. But not anymore. It was time to hit them where it would hurt the most. Jennifer and her mother thought they had all the power. But I had been quietly preparing a move they never saw coming. You see, for the past few weeks, while Jennifer was pretending everything was fine and Gloria was trying to manipulate me, I had been working with a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, someone who specialized in high-stakes divorce cases. I had been laying the groundwork for something that would blow their little world apart. I had been meticulously gathering evidence for months, everything from Jennifer's affair to financial records that would make their heads spin. But I wasn't just looking for a standard divorce settlement. No, I wanted something more. I wanted them to feel the consequences of their actions. The plan was simple: I'd make sure Jennifer walked away with nothing, no assets, no alimony, and certainly no custody of the kids. But I also had something even better in mind: would expose Gloria for what she truly was, a manipulative, lying schemer who had been pulling the strings from the shadows. The bombshell? It was in the form of a hidden bank account, one that Jennifer had no idea existed. Gloria had been funneling money into it for years, taking my hard-earned cash under the guise of family contributions. The total amount? Enough to ruin her financially and expose the shady dealings that had been going on behind my back. I had already contacted the bank, and with the help of my lawyer, we had obtained everything we needed. All the financial statements, all the transfers, every single bit of proof that Gloria had been siphoning money from me for years, using it to control Jennifer and keep her under her thumb. The next morning, after another long night of paperwork, I called Jennifer into the living room. She was still pretending that things were normal, but I could see the guilt in her eyes. She knew the divorce was coming, but she didn't know how far I had gone. "Sit down," I said firmly, my voice calm, but with an edge to it that she couldn't ignore. She hesitated for a moment, then sat down across from me, her hands shaking. "James, I know you're upset," she began, but I cut her off. "Save it, Jennifer," I said. "I'm not here to listen to excuses anymore. I'm here to show you just how deep the betrayal goes. You thought I wouldn't find out, didn't you?" Her eyes widened as I slid a folder across the table toward her. "What's this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I thought you should know exactly what I've been up to while you were busy with Mike. That hidden bank account of yours? The one Gloria set up with money from our account? You might want to take a look at this. I opened the folder, showing her the account statements, the transfers, the amounts Gloria had been siphoning off without either of us knowing. Jennifer's face went ashen. This is, she stumbled over her words. I didn't know. I had no idea. You didn't know? You really didn't know? I asked, voice dripping with disbelief. You've been living in a bubble, Jennifer, controlled by your mother, and I was too blind to see it. All those years you spent manipulating me, making me feel guilty for things that weren't my fault. I wasn't the one keeping secrets. Tears filled her eyes. James, please. No, don't you dare. You and your mother thought you could pull the strings, but now you're going to pay the price. I'm done with this. You're done. The divorce was filed immediately after that. And as for Gloria? She was about to feel the full weight of her actions. Jennifer's world had already crumbled, but Gloria was next. She thought she could still hold the reins, that I'd back down, maybe let her have one last moment of control over the situation. She thought she could manipulate her way out of it, but I had other plans. A few days after the papers were filed, I received a call from Gloria. Her voice was tight, with just a hint of desperation beneath her usual facade of superiority. James, she started, we need to talk. You can't just ruin Jennifer's life like this. She's already going through so much, and now you're dragging me into it? I could practically hear the venom in her voice. She knew she was in trouble, but she didn't know the full extent of the mess I had just dragged her into. I think you're mistaken, Gloria, I said calmly. I'm not ruining anyone's life. I'm just exposing the truth. All of it. Including your little secret. You've been using Jennifer to hide your shady dealings for years. It's over now. There was a long pause on the other end of the line, and for a moment, I thought she might actually hang up on me. But instead, I heard the sound of her sharp breath, like she had just realized how deep she was in. You don't understand what you're doing, she hissed. If you keep going with this, you'll regret it. You'll lose everything. I raised an eyebrow at the empty room, my fingers lightly tapping the table. You've already lost, Gloria. You just don't know it yet. I've already contacted the authorities about the money you've been siphoning off for years. That little account you've been using to control everything? It's all there, in black and white. Her tone faltered, just for a second. You wouldn't do that. You don't have the guts. Oh, I have the guts. Don't worry. I've already sent everything over to the right people. They'll be looking into it shortly. And once they do, your perfect little life will come crashing down just like Jennifer's did. I let the words hang in the air, feeling the weight of them. I wasn't bluffing. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about justice. About making sure they paid for everything they had done to me, to my family, and to their own. Gloria's voice took on a pleading tone. James, please. Don't do this. We can fix this. We can. I cut her off. No, Gloria. It's too late. It was too late the moment you decided to ruin my life. You think you can control everything from behind the scenes, but now you're the one who's exposed. I hung up, my heart pounding, but not with anger. With relief. This was the final step in my revenge. The authorities began their investigation into the hidden bank account. It turned out, Gloria had been laundering money under the guise of family contributions for years, funneling large sums of cash into a private account and using it for various manipulative schemes. The evidence I had provided was enough to spark an inquiry into not just her finances, but into her entire relationship with her daughter. And that's when the real fallout began. The investigation into Gloria's financial activities didn't take long. The pieces of the puzzle fell into place quickly, and the fallout was just as swift. Within weeks, the authorities had frozen the account, and Gloria's so-called perfect life began to unravel. But the best part? Jennifer was left completely blindsided. She had no idea how deep her mother's schemes ran until the truth started spilling out. The documents, the transfers, the secret dealings, everything came to light in the most public way possible. One afternoon, as I was finalizing the last of the divorce paperwork, I received a call from Jennifer. Her voice was hoarse, a mixture of anger and disbelief. "James, what the hell is going on? I just got a call from the bank. They're investigating everything, everything. How could you do this to me?" she demanded, her voice rising with each word. I sighed, leaning back in my chair. "Jennifer, you really don't get it, do you? You think this is about us. It's not. This is about everything your mother has been doing behind the scenes for years. She thought she could control me, control you. But she's been exposed." "Expose me? Expose me?" Jennifer's voice cracked, as if the weight of the betrayal was finally hitting her. "James, you've destroyed everything. What about the kids? What about our family?" I paused, trying to keep my voice steady. "You made a choice, Jennifer. And so did I. You chose your mother over me. You chose to betray me. And now, you have to live with the consequences. Your mother has been manipulating you, just like she's manipulated everyone else." She was quiet for a moment. I could hear the sound of her breathing on the other end. "I didn't know, James. I didn't know." "Maybe not," I said, my voice growing colder. "But you should have. You've been living in a bubble. And now, your bubble's popped. You and your mother thought you could walk away from this, but you're both wrong. This is bigger than just us." I hung up the phone, knowing that the emotional wreckage had only just begun. The bank had started calling in the loans, the accounts had been frozen, and Gloria was being investigated for everything she'd been doing under the radar. But here's where it got even more delicious. Jennifer had no choice but to face the consequences of her mother's actions. The real punch came a week later, when Gloria was arrested. Not for the affair, not for the betrayal, but for embezzling money and hiding it in accounts under Jennifer's name. It turned out, Gloria had been funneling all the money into her own investments, using her daughter's name as a shield, manipulating Jennifer into thinking she was doing it for the family. Jennifer was shocked, devastated, not because of the affair, not because of the lies, but because her mother had been controlling her every step. Jennifer had been a pawn in her own mother's game. The day Gloria was arrested, I watched as Jennifer stood outside the courthouse, her face pale, her eyes vacant. She didn't know where to go, what to do, or who to turn to. She had lost it all, her family, her mother, her dignity. And it was all because she hadn't seen the truth until it was too late. And me? I stood there, watching it all, feeling nothing but a deep sense of satisfaction. I had taken back my life. I had exposed the truth. And in the end, they were left with nothing. Jennifer walked up to me, her face streaked with tears. "James," she said, her voice quiet and broken, "I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I didn't know what my mother was doing." I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel anger. I felt nothing. "I gave you everything, Jennifer. I loved you. But you made your choices. And now, you have to deal with the fallout." She nodded, tears streaming down her face, but I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. I had already walked away. I had already made my peace. In the end, Jennifer and Gloria were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. I, on the other hand, walked away with a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. I didn't need revenge anymore. I didn't need them. Because the final twist wasn't just about punishing them, it was about my freedom. And that, my friend, was the sweetest victory of all. The end.